You know what? There's this image that I saw online the other day, and I
Mm-hmm.
saved it as a bookmark. I actually wasn't connected to me speaking to you, but I just found it to be fascinating because it's part of this emerging picture in my mind about the importance of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things you said there is you think we'd reach our peak muscle by early
Around
30s,
30.
according to
Mm-hmm.
some sort of muscle
Yeah.
scientists.
Mm.
Does that kind of correlate to what I'm seeing here? I'll put this on the screen for anyone that can't see, and I'll link it in the description below.
Yeah.
But on this graph, which we'll call figure number one,
Yeah.
graph number one,
Mm-hmm.
are you saying to me that the peak point there is
Around 30.
yeah, and then it's sort of downhill from
down.
there?
So on this graph, the peak, if we call it 30, this is a precipitous decline. It looks very hopeless. What I believe and what our research shows is that you can extend this green line into a more flat curve so that you die quickly. Maybe in your sleep. Yeah, like this. Zoop, done.
Okay.
Instead of this steady decline over time. But if we do not reinvest in our health and mobility every day, our muscle wastes, our VO2 max, or our cardiovascular health declines 10% per decade. So it's like what happens if you have a Formula One car and you get it all maximized. It takes one big race and then you never reinvest in it. I mean, our bodies are not unlike a machine.
When you talk about lean muscle mass, what is lean muscle mass? I know what muscles are, but what's lean muscle?
Yeah, you know what? I say lean muscle mass, and people are like, what do you mean? Lean versus fatty muscle mass. What I'm talking about is your skeletal muscle mass. So we have three kinds of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
We have smooth muscle, which is what our guts are. It's the peristalsis that's happening in our intestines. Our cardiac muscle, the muscle that is our heart, that's the cardiac muscle. And it beats unto itself. It has its own electrical rhythm. The rest of the muscle in our body is striated skeletal muscle. So every time you do this, it's with a type of muscle called skeletal muscle. We have 650 skeletal muscles. It is the reason you move. Muscle is not only important for locomotion, but it's very metabolically active. It sends off hormones that help control other processes in your body. It's where most of your mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of your body, take glucose from your blood and turn it into energy. So it has a lot of roles. Most of us just think about it as what you see in the mirror at the gym getting bigger and bigger, but it serves the function of locomotion and metabolism.
You did a study.
Yes, I did.
And I think that's the picture I have here, which talks about
in 2012.
So I'll put this on the screen again. This is picture number 2 for anybody that's listening on audio and wants to see the photos. This is a pretty startling image.
It is.
And it scares me. Please, can you explain what it is?
It shouldn't scare you because you are healthy and you are going to be mobile every day when you leave me here. But so remember that study I introduced, the Health ABC, which was an NIH-funded study of a group of 70-year-olds. They just took a cohort of 70-year-olds and watched what happened over a decade.
Yeah.
Well, they did a similar study as this using CAT scans. I used MRIs. And what they found is that what they described as the inevitable decline of muscle, the inevitable infiltration of your muscle with fat, like marbling. And I said, that cannot be true. That is what happens if you are sedentary and sit around for the trajectory of your life. So because I'm a sports doctor, I am surrounded by masters athletes. So I did a study of masters athletes from 40 to 85. What this picture is MRI slices in their mid-thighs. So MRIs take pictures of us using a magnet and creates these beautiful pictures. So at the top picture is the MRI slice of a 40-year-old, and my athletes were usually runners or triathletes, of the thigh of a 40-year-old. So I'll describe this for you. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes, we have beautiful muscle architecture of the quadriceps on the top, the hamstrings on the bottom. The bone has a nice cortex. There's very little peripheral fat. And when I looked inside the muscle with a microscope and special software, there was not infiltration of fat or marbling. So if you want to say it colloquially, this is a flank steak with no marbling. This is lean muscle. If we sit around for 35 years and have a desk job and we sit at the desk 10 hours a day and we don't go move our muscles, we're not purposeful, this is what happens. We lose our muscle architecture. These muscles are almost, you can't even tell what they are.
What's the age of that person?
This is a 74-year-old. Now, I had a large group. This is one representative person in each of the groups. This is the control group. But the center one, the muscle, I'll tell you, is grossly fatty infiltrated. It is well marbled. It is like a Colby beef. And then there's a thick rind of peripheral fat. This is a picture of what we called sarcobesity, meaning we have loss of muscle, sarcopenia, and we have obesity, excess adipose tissue.
Oh, so the white area is the fat, and the middle part is the muscle. Oh, gosh.
Yes. And so, you know, you'll see people walking around with these big old thighs. Well, the truth is, sometimes a lot of that is fatty rind. But look what happens if we invest every day in our mobility. My athletes in this study were not professional athletes. They were recreational people like you and me who had just invested in their mobility 4 to 5 times a week. This is the picture. The third picture is a 70-year-old triathlete.
Really?
If you didn't know better, you would say that I just took another slice of the 40-year-old and put it down here. Very little peripheral fat, very little fatty infiltration, and amazing muscle architecture. And when we looked at the strength of this person compared to this person, there was virtually no difference. There was a small difference. But we know from other people's studies that lifting weights consistently infers a 20-year advantage, such that if you're an 80-year-old consistently lifting weights, you are functionally as strong as a 60-year-old person who doesn't. And so not only does this study show us that by investing every day in our mobility, that we can retain our muscle mass, that has implications for frailty. That has implications for activity. And what's interesting about that picture, Stephen, once I published it, it has taken on a life of its own. It is like everywhere on the internet because the reaction is so startling with people thinking, oh my God, I am in control of my health and aging. And I couldn't be more pleased about that.
No, it is unforgettable.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word. I can't believe that. The thing that really obviously shocks me is the 40-year-old's calf muscles. Are they calf or thigh muscle?
Yep.
Is
quads
arguably,
and hamstrings.
And that's a triathlete, is arguably not as good as the 70-year-old triathletes.
Well,
I would actually say that the 70-year-old...
They're two different people. So.
No, I think the 70-year-old wins, Vonda. And that is startling because I thought that aging, muscle decline, this sort of senescence, I think it's called, of the body and the muscles is inevitable. And this is unequivocal evidence that it's not. That if I make good decisions now, if I become a triathlete, I can have the flank steak thighs when I'm 70.
What it tells you is that there is no age or time in your life when your body will not respond to the positive stress you put upon it. And it takes daily investment. It's not like you can store it all up and then ride on it.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.